Released in 1967, The X from Outer Space crash-landed into Japanese cinemas, providing an interesting, though bloated, sci-fi adventure. A more niche kaiju film, it's no surprise that North America hasn't gotten a Blu-ray release. Thankfully, Japan picks up the slack with a release exclusive to the country. With the effort it can take to import foreign films, is it worth the time? And more importantly, is it worth the purchase? Today, we'll be finding out. As usual, the equipment I use will be in the description. Always remember, different equipment will produce different results. The Blu-ray doesn't have any region coding listed, but says that the disc is barrier-free. I would take that as meaning the disc is region-free, but if you want to play it safe, most Japanese releases are locked to region A, which includes the countries listed on screen. If you have any questions on this release, be sure to leave a comment, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the review. Starting with video, for the majority of the runtime, I was content. I wouldn't say anything here blew me away, but this lack of amazement is made up for by the overall consistency of the image. The sets and miniatures used here are incredibly detailed, and I'm happy to say that comes across very well in the image. This also goes for Gilala, whose freakish chicken lizard lumps are captured in glorious HD. The colors really pop, with the exotic palettes that fill these futuristic areas really assisting in the overall immersion. This also elevates the scenic landscape shots that fill the film, allowing for the blue skies and lush greens to pop off the screen. Blacks look solid, though I would have liked to see them deeper during the night sequences. When it comes to complaints, the main one I have is with the compositing shots. They unfortunately look very phony. I get that we're talking about a 60s kaiju film, but some of the sequences here just look horrible. I also found that during more hectic moments, there would be some shots mixed in that didn't match the quality of what surrounded it. This is a much smaller complaint compared to the compositing issue, but something I find worth noting. As a whole, I found myself pretty happy with what we got. It's nice to see these incredible practical effects preserved so well. You can really tell they took details into consideration. Getting to audio, we get a Japanese LPCM mono track, and quite shockingly, an English LPCM mono track. I watched the film with the dub, so we'll start with that. I found dialogue and music to be clear, and for the most part, they blended well. The direction of the voice actors wasn't the best, leading to some line reads being lost in the shuffle of music and sound effects. The character of Lisa comes to mind, with her inflection leading to some of the more noticeable examples. If this was the only issue, I wouldn't be too bothered. But the biggest flaws come from the kaiju scenes. There isn't much impact when it comes to the destruction. This is partially down to the sound design, but as a whole, it just lacks the weight you'd expect. This sucks for sure, but my biggest complaint has to be what I could best describe as the screeching of the jets. For whatever reason, the sounds the jets make are ear-piercing, to a point where you'd think the audio itself might be peaking. It is horrendous, and drags down some really well-crafted kaiju scenes. This issue can also be heard in other non-kaiju scenes, with things like laughing causing the effect to a lesser degree. This thankfully is not as common. This issue alone is a decent mark against this track, and while I'm willing to understand it's an older mono dub, the issues still drag it down. When it comes to the Japanese audio, I would say it fares much better. While it's still a mono track, I found dialogue and music blended perfectly, with a quality that's slightly clearer than the dub. With this, the sound effects are balanced much better, meaning the jets aren't going to give you a migraine as the action plays out. Though I will say you're still missing the weight during kaiju moments. Overall, though, I'd say the Japanese track has the upper hand on the dub. But if you can get past the louder kaiju scenes, both are decent options. For special features, you'll be getting a special news featurette, which from my understanding seems to be a message they would have played before the film itself, and the theatrical trailer. Pretty basic, but it's worth noting they list the dub as a bonus feature, which gives this release some brownie points. For packaging, I really like it. It has a vintage vibe, which suits the film very well. I especially love the classic poster used on the front. Inside, we get a fairly plain disc, but a nice little bonus is this included postcard. Not sure why they decided to add this, but I'm not complaining. Nothing crazy, but I love the vibes. So, is this worth the purchase? As usual with these import releases, it needs to be understood that these are being made with the Japanese consumer in mind. With that out of the way, I found this release to be decently charming. I think the overall presentation is great, and past the hiccups I mentioned, I think this is a decent release for a film that doesn't get a ton of spotlight. Having the dub is nice, and even for all the hiccups, it allows the accessibility of this release to increase by a large margin. Special features are minimal, but if you count the dub as part of them, I'd say they nailed it. When it comes to pricing, this release will set you back around 20 USD before shipping. But of course, keep in mind, shipping may be costly if you plan on importing this. If you can get this release for under $30, I think it's worth a pickup. It's a pretty by-the-books Blu-ray release, but for a niche film, I think that's just perfect. Thanks for making it to the end of the review. As usual, if you have any questions or want to share your own thoughts on this release, be sure to leave a comment. Be sure to show your support by leaving a like, and be sure to subscribe and click the bell to see more from me. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Tobisatsu, and I hope that you have a great day.